started. First, let's take a look at this picture. What's wrong here? We've all seen a seesaw at the playground. It seems unbalanced. This man is big and heavy, and he's pulling down his side of the seesaw. But this girl is little, and she's flying up in the air because the seesaw is unbalanced. Let's take a look at another picture. What's happening in this picture? Again, you see a seesaw at a playground. This woman here is pulling down her side of the seesaw because she is heavier than this little boy. In the background, you can see this man is heavier on his side of the seesaw, and it's making this girl go flying in the air because their seesaws are unbalanced. Take a look at scale A and scale B. What's the difference? Well, I can see that in scale A, the weight on this side labeled A is much heavier than the weight labeled B on this side of the scale. These scales are unbalanced. When I take a look at scale B, I can see that both of my weights are equal and the scale is balanced. Think about equations this way. We have to balance both sides of our equation. Some words to know. These are 4 vocabulary words that we're going to be using during our lesson today. The first is variable. All it means is the unknown, the part that we're looking for, the part that we don't know. We know 2 parts. We're going to use those parts to come up with the part we don't know. We do that by isolating the variable. What it means to isolate is to get something by itself. Right now, we're talking about social distancing and isolation and staying away from other people and staying alone in your house. This is isolation. We all know this very well at this point. Getting something by itself, getting it alone. And in this case, we're going to be isolating the variable. So we're getting the unknown or the part that we don't know, we're getting it separated, getting it by itself. The process to do this is using an inverse operation. So here's the word inverse. What does inverse mean? Inverse means the opposite. If I'm talking about the inverse of addition, we're going to be subtracting. If we're talking about the inverse of subtracting, we're going to be adding. And in the next lesson, we're going to work on multiplying and dividing. The last is operation, which tells us what to do. Like I said today, add and subtract. And you guessed it, multiply and divide in the next lesson. So let's get started. Okay, so here we have our equation, 20 plus y equals 25. Now you can see there is a part that we don't know. This looks a little bit different than we're used to. When we talk about math, we usually talk about numbers. But now that we're doing intro to one-step equations, this is really getting started with algebra. And algebra uses letters to represent numbers in math. So think of this equation just like the seesaw that we have been watching. Here is one part of our seesaw. And here, I'm sorry, this is kind of difficult to do on the computer, but you get the hint. Here is the other part of the seesaw. Okay, we have to make these sides balanced. The part that is unknown is the y. We can also look at it this way. If this entire rectangle is our total, what is your total here? 25. So I'm going to put a big 25 on top. And we've done this in class before, so this model should look familiar to you. If 25 is my total, the part that I know is this part right here, this 20, and I'm going to highlight it again. This 20 is on one side. Okay. And then there's the part that we don't know. And that is our unknown. That's on this side. And this equation is represented with a y. Okay, so 25 is your total, and I get it because it's here by itself on this side of the equal sign by itself. Okay, but keep that in mind because sometimes it might flip. You have to get the number by itself without the variable. Okay, 20 on this side. If the y is here, what can we put here to balance this scale to make it 25? Okay, so this is the visual. Now watch when I set it up. Okay, we're going to use our inverse operation. So I'm drawing your attention to this plus sign here. Okay, this is addition. What is the inverse of addition? What is the opposite of addition? Well, the opposite of giving something is taking it away. So subtraction. Here we have the 20 that's connected to the addition symbol. So if we're going to do the opposite or the inverse, then on the other side of the equation, we're going to subtract. So we're going to take this 20, okay, and we're going to bring it to this side of our equal sign, okay? Now when we bring it over to this side of our equal sign, what operation are we going to perform? We're going to subtract, okay? I'm going to take this stuff off. Sometimes it just gets to be too much, okay? Minus 20. Oops. Minus 20. So now we have 25 minus 20. You could do it in your brain, you could do it on your calculator, whichever you like. 25 minus 20, 5 minus 0. You're not taking anything away. There's 5 left over. 2 minus 2 crosses out. That's going to be a 0, and we're left with 5. Now let's plug it in and see if this makes sense. I'm going to rewrite my equation. 20 plus 5 equals, I'll get better at this, I promise. 20 plus 5 equals 25. Well, is this a true equation? Does this make sense? Yeah, 20 plus 5 is 25. So y, remember this one? Y equals 5. And there you go. That's your first one-step equation. Nice job. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for you to do some more work on the next few slides. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll check back in a few minutes. Good luck.